I want you to picture two apartments, same city, same neighborhood, similar rent. The first apartment belongs to someone earning $95,000 a year. Walk inside and you'll find a 75-inch TV mounted on the wall, a $4,000 leather sectional, a kitchen full of appliances, most still sealed in their original boxes. Closets overflowing with clothes, many with tags still hanging. A spare bedroom that hasn't been a bedroom in years because it's now a storage unit for things nobody touches. This person checks their bank account with a knot in their stomach. They are 2 missed paychecks away from a financial crisis. Now walk across the hall. The second apartment belongs to someone earning $52,000 a year. Walk inside and you'll notice something unusual. Space, a modest couch, a reasonably sized television, a kitchen with exactly the tools that actually get used, a closet with clothes that actually get worn. The spare bedroom is, believe it or not, actually a bedroom. This person checks their bank account with calm confidence. 18 months of expenses saved. 20% of every paycheck invested. Same neighborhood. The person earning almost half as much has nearly 10 times the financial security. Here is the truth nobody wants to hear. This is not a story about income. It is a story about the invisible relationship between stuff and money that most people go their entire lives without understanding. The first person is not bad with money in any obvious way. They don't gamble, they don't have expensive addictions. They just gradually built a lifestyle that requires every single dollar they earn to keep alive. They are a hostage to their own possessions. The second person discovered something that quietly changed everything. They learned that owning less does not mean living worse. It means living with intention, and intentional living creates financial margin that most high earners will never taste. Today, I'm going to walk you through the minimalist money rules that separate people who always have money from people who are always broke, regardless of what shows up on their paycheck. These are not about sacrifice. They are about understanding that everything you own carries hidden costs you have probably never bothered to calculate. Let me start with a concept that will permanently rewire how you think about every purchase you make for the rest of your life. Everything you own costs you money twice. The first cost is obvious. It is the purchase price, the number on the receipt, the swipe of the card. Nobody misses this one, but there is a second cost that almost everyone ignores, and it is often larger than the first. The second cost includes storage. That treadmill you bought needs a place to live. Space costs money. In most urban areas, you're paying roughly $30 to $50 per square foot per year for your living space. A treadmill with proper clearance occupies about 20 square feet. That means you're paying $600 to $1,000 a year in invisible rent just to store exercise equipment that probably holds laundry most days. The second cost includes maintenance. That boat sitting in your driveway needs winterization, cleaning, registration, insurance, and surprise repairs. The marine industry rule of thumb says annual upkeep runs about 10% of the boat's value. A $30,000 boat costs you $3,000 every single year just to own, even if you never put it in the water. The second cost includes mental energy. Every item you own borrows a small piece of your attention. It has to be cleaned, organized, maintained, insured, worried about, eventually disposed of. Researchers have found that visual clutter elevates cortisol levels and degrades the brain's ability to concentrate. Your belongings are literally increasing your stress in ways you cannot consciously detect. And the second cost includes opportunity. Every dollar imprisoned in a possession is a dollar that cannot grow. That $15,000 home gym could have been $15,000 in index funds compounding to $50,000 or more over 15 years. You did not just buy a gym, you bought a gym instead of financial freedom. When you tally the hidden costs, many possessions end up costing more to own over their lifetime than they cost to purchase. The price tag is just the entry fee. The real expense never stops. People who live with less understand this at a gut level. They are not avoiding possessions because they dislike quality. They are avoiding possessions because they ran the numbers and decided most things simply are not worth what they truly cost. This brings us to rule number 1. Calculate cost per use before any purchase. Before you buy anything, estimate how many times you will realistically use it, not optimistically. Realistically then, divide the total cost by that number. This gives you cost per use, which is the only honest measure of whether something is worth your money. A $200 jacket worn twice costs $100 per wear. A $400 jacket worn 200 times costs $2 per wear. The jacket that costs twice as much is actually 20 times cheaper in any way that matters. This one calculation destroys most impulse purchases on contact. That $300 kitchen gadget you will use twice a year costs $150 per use over the first year. That is an obscene price to pay for whatever task it performs. Meanwhile, a $30 tool you use every week costs less than 60 cents per use. The math exposes what marketing hides cost. Per use also reveals which purchases are genuinely brilliant. A $2,000 mattress used every night for 10 years costs about 55 cents per use. That is extraordinary value for something that affects your health and energy every single day. A $1,500 espresso machine used daily for 5 years costs less than $1 per cup and saves you money compared to the coffee shop. The numbers cut through emotion, marketing, and peer pressure. Rule number 2, apply the replacement test to everything you already own. Walk through your home and examine each item you possess. Ask yourself one question. If this item vanished today, would I spend my own money to replace it? Be ruthlessly honest. Would you actually go buy another fondue set? Would you replace that bread maker collecting dust in the cabinet? Would you repurchase those clothes you have not touched in 18 months? For most items, the honest answer is no. These things are not in your life because you chose them. They are there because of inertia, impulse purchases, gifts you felt guilty discarding. Leftovers from phases and hobbies you quietly abandoned. They have negative value. They steal your space, your energy, and your attention without giving anything meaningful in return. Sell what has value. Donate what someone else could use.
Discard what serves nobody.
The initial discomfort passes quickly, and what replaces it is a clarity that is difficult to describe, but immediately obvious. Rooms feel larger, decisions feel simpler. Cleaning takes half the time. You know exactly where everything is, because everything that remains has earned its place. Rule number 3, never upgrade out of boredom. This is the pattern that quietly bankrupts people who earn great incomes. They replace perfectly functional items simply because newer versions exist or because they have grown tired of looking at the old ones. Their TV works perfectly, but the new model has marginally better contrast. Their phone operates flawlessly, but the new release has a slightly improved camera. Their car runs reliably, but the new model year has refreshed styling. Their furniture serves its purpose, but they want something different to look at. These upgrades feel like progress. They are wealth destruction wearing a disguise. Here's the policy that protects you. Never replace something that still performs its function. The phone that makes calls, sends messages, and runs your apps does not need replacement because a shinier phone exists. The car that gets you where you need to go reliably does not need replacement because your neighbor bought something newer. The average person replaces their phone every 2 to 3 years, while the previous phone works fine. Over 30 years, that pattern alone costs $30,000 to $50,000 in wasted purchases. Apply this across every category where upgrade culture thrives, and the lifetime waste easily surpasses $200,000. Define functional clearly. An item remains functional until it genuinely cannot do what you need it to do. Boredom is not a malfunction. Desire for novelty is not a malfunction. The existence of a newer version is not a malfunction. Actual failure to perform is the only valid reason to replace everything else as clever. Marketing solving a problem you do not have. Rule number 4, create friction for spending and create ease for saving. Human behavior follows the path of least resistance. Always, if spending money is easy and saving is hard, you will spend. If saving is easy and spending is hard, you will save. This is not about character, it is about physics. Here is how you engineer your environment. Make spending harder. Remove saved credit card numbers from every online store. Impose a 24-hour waiting period before any non-essential purchase. Delete shopping apps from your phone. Unsubscribe from every promotional email. Never enter a store without a specific intended purchase already in mind. Make saving effortless. Set up automatic transfers to your investment accounts on payday. Keep only small amounts in your accessible checking account. Make contributions happen before you ever see the money.
Treat your savings like rent, a fixed expense that is not negotiable rather than something you try to squeeze from whatever is left. These structural changes beat willpower every single time. Willpower is a depletable resource. It runs out when you're tired, stressed, or emotional. Your environment does not get tired. Someone who relies on willpower to resist impulse purchases will eventually crack.
Someone who deleted the shopping apps and removed their stored payment information cannot impulse purchase in that moment. The infrastructure makes the decision before the temptation even arrives. The 24-hour rule alone eliminates roughly 70% of impulse purchases. Most desires for objects evaporate within a day if you simply do not act on them immediately. Rule number 5. Count your possessions regularly. This sounds extreme until you actually do it. Counting creates awareness. Awareness prevents accumulation. Pick a category. Count how many items you own in that category. Write the number down. The results shock almost everyone who has never audited their consumption objectively. How many shirts do you own? Most people guess low. Then they count and discover they own 3 or 4 times what they estimated. How many kitchen gadgets? How many pairs of shoes? How many items in your junk drawer? How many books you will genuinely never open again? The act of counting itself changes behavior. When you know you own 47 shirts, the prospect of buying another one feels different. You're not just adding a shirt, you're bringing your collection to 48. The absurdity becomes visible and undeniable. Set maximum limits for the categories that tend to grow, perhaps 30 items of clothing total, perhaps 15 books at any given time, perhaps a strict one-in, one-out policy where every new purchase forces you to remove something existing. Without intentional limits, possessions expand to fill whatever space is available. With limits, every addition demands a conscious decision about what it replaces. That friction alone dramatically reduces mindless acquisition. Rule number 6, rent or borrow before you buy. Most items people purchase get used heavily for a brief exciting period, and then rarely again. The novelty wears off. The enthusiasm fades. The item joins the graveyard of things owned but seldom touched. Test this before committing. Want to try camping? Rent the equipment for the first few trips. Want to explore woodworking? Borrow tools from a friend or use a community makerspace. Want a kayak? Rent one several times before purchasing. This approach reveals 2 critical truths. First, it exposes whether your enthusiasm is genuine or temporary. Many interests dissolve after the initial exploration. Better to discover that while renting than after purchasing equipment that collects dust forever. Second, it shows you exactly what you actually need. Beginners almost always overbuy or buy the wrong items. Renting lets you learn before committing. So when you eventually purchase, you buy precisely what serves you, rather than guessing. Closets and garages across the world are museums of abandoned enthusiasm. Ski gear from the season they were going to become skiers. Photography equipment from when they were going to become serious photographers. Musical instruments from the band that played 2 shows and then dissolved do not become a museum of past excitement. Test interests before investing. Keep the flexibility to explore without chaining yourself to ownership. Rule number 7. Understand the lifestyle multiplier effect. Every possession connects to other possessions. A boat requires a trailer. A vehicle equipped with a tow hitch, storage fees, maintenance supplies, safety equipment, and appropriate clothing. What appears to be a single purchase actually triggers a cascade of supporting purchases. This is the lifestyle multiplier. Major purchases multiply into entire ecosystems of related expenses. The true cost is never just the item itself. A home gym requires flooring, mirrors, storage solutions, ventilation modifications, and often room renovations. A swimming pool requires chemicals, cleaning equipment, covers, patio furniture, maintenance tools, and landscaping. A motorcycle requires riding gear, storage, maintenance equipment, and often a truck or trailer for transport. Always calculate the full ecosystem cost before any major purchase. A $5,000 item might actually represent $8,000 or $12,000 when all the multiplier expenses are included. This full accounting regularly transforms what seemed reasonable into something clearly excessive. The multiplier works beautifully in reverse. Eliminating one major possession often eliminates an entire constellation of related costs. Selling the boat means no more storage fees, insurance premiums, registration costs, maintenance bills, or towing expenses. The financial relief extends far beyond the value of the item itself. Rule number 8. Define what enough looks like before you start earning. Here is the trap that captures high earners constantly. They never define what enough means to them. So they keep upgrading and expanding without ever arriving at satisfaction. Their income rises, so they inflate their lifestyle. The new lifestyle becomes their baseline, so they need another income boost to feel like they are making progress. This cycle repeats endlessly. People earning $300,000 per year feel just as financially stressed as people earning $80,000 because their expectations and expenses expanded in lockstep with their income. Break this cycle by setting your definition of enough in advance. Decide what kind of home is sufficient, what kind of transportation meets your actual needs. What level of material comfort represents genuine contentment, then earn toward that target rather than endlessly moving the finish line. This might mean a $350,000 home is enough, even when you could eventually afford $600,000 to $30,000 car is enough, even when colleagues drive $70,000 vehicles. Your current wardrobe is enough, even though your income could fund constant upgrades. Defining enough gives you a finish line. Without one, you're running a race that never ends because lifestyle expansion always outpaces income growth. With one, you reach a point where every additional dollar of income flows entirely towards savings and investments rather than consumption. The person who locked in $60,000 of annual spending and then grew their income to $150,000 builds wealth at an extraordinary rate. $90,000 per year flowing directly to financial freedom. Meanwhile, someone earning the same income but constantly redefining enough upward might save almost nothing. Same paycheck. Radically different outcomes. Rule number 9. Measure wealth by optionality, not by accumulation. The conventional view measures wealth by what you have: houses, cars, possessions, visible markers of achievement. But there is a better measurement. Measure wealth by what you can choose. Can you leave a job that is damaging your mental health without panic? Can you take 6 months away to handle a family emergency? Can you relocate to a new city for a relationship that matters? Can you start a business without a guaranteed income? Can you walk away from opportunities that pay well but compromise your principles? These choices represent true wealth, and they are only available to people who have built substantial distance between what they earn and what they spend. The person earning $200,000 but spending $195,000 has almost zero freedom of choice. They are locked to their income requirement, chained. The person earning $80,000 but spending $45,000 has extraordinary freedom. They can absorb disruptions, they can take risks, they can make decisions based on what they want rather than what they can afford. This perspective transforms every spending decision. Each purchase is not just exchanging money for an object. It is trading freedom for possession. Is this item worth giving up some of your ability to choose your own path? Sometimes the answer is yes. Very often it is no. Rule number 10. Practice cyclical decluttering, not annual purging. Most people who try minimalism do a massive clean-out, feel incredible for a few weeks, and then slowly drift back to exactly where they started. The big purge feels productive, but the gradual reaccumulation happens below the level of awareness. Within 2 years, they are right back where they began. Avoid this with cyclical maintenance. Instead of one overwhelming annual event, build a steady rhythm. Weekly glances at what came into your space that week. Monthly review of one specific category. Quarterly assessment of overall accumulation trends. This approach catches buildup early before it reaches overwhelming levels again. Removing 3 items per week is manageable and sustainable. Removing 300 items once per year feels like moving and gets postponed forever. Regular evaluation also reveals your personal patterns. You start to notice which categories grow fastest. You identify which emotional states trigger purchasing. You recognize which marketing approaches consistently work on you. This self-awareness enables you to prevent accumulation rather than just treating the symptoms after the fact. Here is your action plan starting this week. Walk through your home with the replacement test active. Identify 10 items you would not spend money to replace if they disappeared. Get them out, sell them, donate them, or throw them away. Pay attention to how it feels to remove things you don't actually want this month. Activate the 24-hour rule for every non-essential purchase. Track the results.
Count how many buying urges survive the waiting period versus how many dissolve. The data will show you exactly how much of your spending is impulse disguised as intention. This quarter, count your possessions in 3 categories that accumulate fastest: clothing, kitchen items, and entertainment or media. Set a maximum threshold for each based on what you genuinely use. Hold yourself to it.
This year, write down what enough looks like across every major spending category. What home is sufficient? What car meets your needs? What wardrobe handles your life? Put those definitions somewhere you will see them. Refer to them every time temptation tries to push you past your own standards. The financial transformation from these practices compounds over time. Someone applying these rules consistently for 5 years owns substantially less while saving substantially more. The widening gap between their lifestyle cost and their income creates wealth that cannot be built any other way. Here's the secret that ties everything together. The relationship between minimalism and money is bidirectional. Owning less creates more money. But having more money also makes owning less feel natural. When your savings are strong and your investments are growing, the compulsion to accumulate fades. The psychological needs that drive most consumption, the craving for security and status, gets satisfied by financial strength rather than by physical objects. You stop needing stuff to feel successful because your bank account already tells you the story you wanted to hear. People caught in consumption cycles often cannot explain why they buy so much. The answer is usually that spending temporarily patches an emotional hole that financial insecurity creates. Fix the insecurity through actual financial strength, and the compulsive spending often dissolves on its own. This creates a virtuous cycle. Spending less leads to saving more. Saving more creates genuine security. Reduces the emotional need to spend. Reduced spending accelerates saving further. Each revolution reinforces the next. The momentum builds. The opposite cycle is equally powerful but devastating. Spending everything creates insecurity. Insecurity drives more spending as temporary emotional relief. More spending deepens the insecurity. The spiral tightens until an external shock forces a reckoning. The choice between these two cycles determines your financial future more than your income ever could. High earners trapped in the destructive cycle build nothing no matter how much they make. Modest earners riding the virtuous cycle build everything despite never earning a fortune. These rules are not about deprivation. They are about the realization that most consumption does not actually improve how satisfied you feel with your life. Research shows consistently that beyond a baseline of comfort and security, additional spending contributes almost nothing to well-being, yet most people spend as if happiness increases in a straight line with every dollar spent. It does not align your behavior with what the science actually shows. Spend enough to be genuinely comfortable and then redirect the rest toward freedom rather than accumulation. You end up with less stuff and more life. Every single time. That apartment I described at the beginning, the clean one with space and calm and 18 months of savings, that belongs to someone applying these rules with consistency. They did not get there through exceptional income. They got there through exceptional clarity about what actually matters. The other apartment, the one stuffed with things its owner does not need, financed by a salary that is never quite enough, that belongs to someone who never questioned the assumption that more equals better. Both lifestyles are available to you regardless of what you earn right now. The choice is simply whether you want to own your possessions or whether you're comfortable allowing your possessions to own you. The math strongly favors the first option. So does the peace of mind. And now you know exactly how to get there.